Tell me, when you heard that and you feel that it's what you've been saying all along, do you see other artists who've basically spilled their guts and slipped up and said it as well? Do you see that often?
I don't think, my finger is not on the pulse to that degree. But you watch them and you see what they put in their videos and you listen to their songs. Because it comes in different forms. You understand what I'm saying? But if you listen and you know the language and you're symbol literate, you can read through the madness.
I definitely
read through the madness. I see it.
I see it too.
Symbol literate. I know what it looks like. I know if Kanye West walks on stage and he's shaking the hands, he's shaking Jay-Z's hand before the world, and it's a Masonic handshake. But if you don't know what a Masonic handshake look like, you may not put two and two together. Are you following me?
Yes, sir. How can we try to expose the mass mind control? Do you think it would have any purpose besides their agenda?
Well, that's the one thing that I think you need to understand, that they fear. They fear being exposed. This is why they call themselves a secret society. They fear being exposed. And we just have to look at it for what it is. They just don't want to be exposed. So if we expose them, right?
Yes, sir.
Then we can offset the agenda. And if do nothing, slow it down or set it back. And the agenda has been set back several times. See, but if you don't recognize what the agenda is and know what it is, you don't know without it's been set back.
Now, for the brother who wants to help and the sister who wants to help and be in the know and have knowledge of self and understand, how can you help them demystify? If you were talking to somebody who had just totally ignorant of everything that you said today, how can you help those brothers and sisters right now?
What I would tell them to do is, take the first step in their journey to get knowledge of self, to be honest with you. And it starts with cleaning up the self, man.
Okay.
I'm 50 years old. I see other 40 and 50 years old still, they sagging their pants. Nah, man, I'm somebody's grandfather, bro. I'm somebody's father. I'm somebody's neighbor.
You got grandkids, huh?
Somebody's uncle. I need to be the example. You follow me?
Yes.
Okay, so, why don't I start there? Let me pull my damn pants up first. Let me stop smoking so much damn weed. How about work out? How about eat right? So if I do get the information, I can filter it through a clean body, a clean mind, a clean spirit, a clean soul. So if I do run across that young brother in the street, he ain't looking at me like, damn, Griff smell like weed. You been drinking, and how can I trust dude? You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
How about do some basic stuff like Dr. Francescresswelsing said? How about pick up the garbage around you? How about some basic stuff? We're worrying about how to understand and decode and demystify the Illuminati, but yet we living like savages in the street. How about respect one another? How about some basic stuff? I want to be able to pass this information down on some brothers and sisters that's going to move on it. I'm not saying be squeaky clean, goody two-shoes. I'm not saying that because none of us are probably there. But there's just some basic things that you have to have in place. Numerology is really important, according to the secret societies. It ain't no secret. Just look at the number 13 on the dollar bill. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Hey, tell me about Psalm 46.
Well, I think that's deep. But a lot of people write it off as conspiracy theory.
Right, I hear that a lot.
And if you really look up the word conspiracy and theory, I think you'll prove those people to be very, 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 very misguided, miseducated, and wrong. Conspiracy. If these people conspire, meaning groups of people getting together, one or three people that get together to put forth a hidden agenda, an occult agenda, to carry out an evil and wicked deed, or a set of deeds, which is probably the root to conspiracy. Now, whether it's a theory or not, we can prove that by going back in history and looking at it. Did not Lincoln and Kennedy go against the power that be and wanted to change the economic, financial landscape of the United States of America? Yes, they did. History teaches us that. Did not both of them get shot in the dome?
Exactly.
Yes, they did. Who did they get shot by? People that was working for and carrying out the agenda. That is not conspiracy theory. That is actual history. It is actual fact.
You usually talk about King James and the King James version of the Bible and Psalm 46.
Right. So leading us to the Psalms thing, I mentioned the fact that, yes, the Illuminati was there, had their hands in rewriting and altering the Bible. Christians are like, oh, no, that's blasphemy. That's this, that, and the other. Stop that. Stop that. I'm not a religious dude. I'm not that religious guy. Now, I can look into some things from a religious perspective or through the lens of religion, but if I'm looking at it, and I'm saying in Psalms 46, I said to the people in Psalms 46, and Anthony Browder said this in his book, The Browder Files, that the Illuminati have a pen name that they write under, and that pen name was Shakespeare. Shakespeare hid his name inside of the Bible in Psalms 46. And I said, count 46 words from the top of Psalms 46, count 46 words from the bottom, and you'll find their name. This is what Anthony Browder teaches us. But not only did I say it, I gave the resource. And did people go back and check the resource? I don't think they did. So now Professor Griff gets talked about.
Right. And another thing you talk about, when you look at the agenda and we see these things that a lot of people write off. I've heard you on lectures talk about gendercide and what's happening to the youth, the boys and the girls. And like you said about the sagging, which is niggas spelled backwards. And I think you said, I quote, the butt crack is the cleavage in prison.
Yeah, the butt cracks become the new cleavage. The
new cleavage in prison. And you sort of look at that as an agenda, and you speak about gendercide.
Well, my thing is the concept of gendercide comes from dr.revphilvalentine.
Okay.
When he talks about the wounded womb, and he talks about gendercide. Very deep, brother. I tap myself and stay plugged into these resources because I don't want people to think that it's Professor Griff.
Right.
I'm the minister of information. This information is coming through me.
Okay.
So I went even deeper, and I talked about the Mali Mukebamani Baruti's book, Homosexuality and the Feminization of the African Male. But you see, but when people bring this up to me, they never reference the reference material that I reference. I'm like, this is not Griff. You understand what I'm saying? These are scholars. These are scholars coming up with this. This is, scholars that have done research, their entire lives. When I tap into Amos Wilson, when I tap into other people, it's like, we're not playing with this. We've done the research. We wouldn't just put this stuff out there just to be putting it out there.
I always wanted to know who did y'all look up to, and who were y'all reading when, in the Public Enemy days? And
a lot of work that went into those songs even before Chuck uttered Minister Farrakhan's name.
So who influenced y'all?
I think because Minister Farrakhan has probably been one of those brothers that have actually had been on the front lines. I mean, for a long time, and actually survived assassination attempts and him being vilified and demonized and all this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of work. I mean, we handed out pamphlets, 5,000 1,000 pamphlets we've handed out on Dr. Francescresswelsing's work, The Color Confrontation. Nobody mentions that. We were educating people. We went into the prisons. We went to the schools. We went to the hood. So, of course, our good brother, Minister Louis Farrakhan, was mentioned. He's always mentioned. But there's scholars upon scholars that we've actually put into our work. At least the whole idea of mentioning Amos Wilson and his work, Black on Black Violence, the psychodynamics of black self-annihilation in service of white domination by Amos Wilson. Just to mention that people need to kind of like take a note, go back, find the book, read the book, and then come back and have that dialogue with Professor Griff.
Okay.
So back in the day when it was coming up, we went to the slave theater. We seen Dr. Leonard Jeffries and his wife Rosalind Jeffries, Professor Smalls, Professor Simmons, Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark. We seen these people, had a chance to touch them and sit at their feet. We had to read books because there wasn't no computers then.
Yeah.
Are you following me?
Yes, sir.
So we have to understand this particular dynamic. Now, man, you can do some tweeting like a Twitter hit, and you can get on Facebook, and it's a wrap. Ain't nobody reading no more. 1 or 2 paragraphs they read every day on Facebook, that's it. Ain't nobody buying books and reading.
It's looking very, very bleak when we look at the future and we look at Black America, so to speak. What can we do now?
If you ask me what the solution is, and I give it to you, when I see your black behind, you better be carrying it out. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because if you ask the question, you own the answer.
Exactly. So for those people trying to own the answer, what would you tell them before we go?
Those people that are trying to own the answer, what I said earlier about cleaning themselves up, that's the first task. Clean yourself up and put the old you behind you. You understand what I'm saying? Activate the God frequency inside the God self. And when I meet you, let me speak to the God in you. I don't want to speak to that other dude. Move him out of the way. Don't be blowing smoke and weed in my face. Don't be popping open, your favorite drink while I'm trying to talk to you to educate you. You understand what I'm saying?